want to talk about horse meat. Recently, Prince Anne in England, Prince Charles' sister, daughter of the Queen, she was talking about people should eat more horse meat. Now, horse meat is a ritual. Horse meat consumption is a ritual. It's not something that humans were always doing. There seems to be, they don't find many horse bones in graves, in ancient prehistoric graves. They find lots of cow meat and pigs and things like that, goats, but they don't find many horses. Now, in the past, people would wonder how vast armies could move across Europe. I'm talking about like Napoleon's campaign into Russia, how they could move hundreds of thousands of troops and feed them and live off the land. Well, they could only procure so much food from, robbing farms or raiding warehouses and so on, terrorizing peasants. What they would eat was horses. They would eat each of. There was an unspoken agreement among the military powers, through the royal families, that they would have large numbers of horses, so the winning army could eat the horses that were killed in each other's battle. This is the expression comes from. I was so hungry I could eat a horse. It means I had such a hard fight today. I killed so many enemies. I fought in such a hard battle I could eat a horse. And of course, the horses belonging to the nobility or the officer classes within these armies would be the most prized, sought after, if they were killed in battle, to eat them, for the simple reason that they'd be very well cared for and very well taken care of, high protein content, high muscular content. They'd be the best horses on the field. This is why the vanguard was often raided. The vanguard would travel behind a military procession at the very back, and it was often full of dozens, maybe hundreds of horses, and they would be taken as food. So that's particularly how they got the protein while they were on the move. They would eat horses that were killed in battle. That's really where horse meat consumption came into it. Before that, horses were venerated by the royalty in a very strange way. We all know that Caligula married and had sex with a horse, but one of the common forms of torture for a Roman emperor to inflict upon, say, someone who betrayed him, would be to kill a horse, put the guy in the horse and stitch him up to his head. So his body would be inside the stomach of the horse up to his neck. Remember, people were much smaller back then. And then his head would be sticking out. And the idea was that the stomach juices, the acids, horses have a very high acid content in their stomach, would dissolve his body away slowly. So his head would be sticking out of the body of a horse, screaming in agony, while the horse's gastric juices ate him alive, while the rest of his body was stitched up inside the horse. This is the heritage of the European royal families, by the way. These are your people you love, the Queen Mother, Kate Middleton, Prince William. This is their history. Now, they would often have, not only would they have sex with horses, but there were horse rituals as well. I think it was Michael Bejant did a great section in one of his books about how the Celtic and Gaelic Irish kings would bathe with a horse in a pot, have sex with it. The king would leave, and then the horse was killed, and then it would be cooked into a giant stew and be consumed by all the nobility. It was a way of getting the king's seed. This is why they're obsessed with pedigree and seed and inbreeding. Now that brings us to another issue with the horses and Prince Anne. If you look at people humans who develop a bonding with horse, I mean, like the people who develop a bond with a horse, like they love their horses, that they have an affection for them you'd have for a dog or a cat. They're usually working class or middle class people who've taken an interest in horses, usually teenage boys and girls, sometimes younger, and they take an interest in equestrian things, riding, whatever, but they also have a genuine affection for a horse. Like they develop a real bond for the horse, like it's a friend. Well, you wouldn't get that with Princess Anne and the rest of them. They purely would see the horses as pedigree. They wouldn't have any affection for it. They wouldn't see any difference between the horse and the whip, or the velvet hat, the helmet. They would it's a fine jumper, it's a fine polo horse, it's an excellent equestrian horse, it's an excellent dressage horse. But they wouldn't have any feeling for it. They'd be only interested in pedigree, so they wouldn't have any problem eating it. You see, consumption of horse meat is ultimately a ritual. It's a ritual that developed in nobility, and it was built upon death rituals such as mass carnage in wars. I was so hungry I could eat a horse. And this has all come to light ever since that company Findus. They discovered all the horse meat inside the lasagna and what was supposed to be beef, and they were doing it here in factories in Ireland. They were putting horse meat in there. Now people will say they were just trying to cut costs. They were, but they're also trying to get us to have an affinity with eating horse meat, and that's what the whole Princess Anne thing was about. It's sort of like the royal ritual, the royal decree is to eat horses. They eat animals that we would never consider eating, and that's what that's all about. The consumption of horse meat. So you have the expression horses for courses. So for the horses for race courses, or horses for, well, Her Majesty's main course.